Christmas at Quilter House. The snow fell softly outside. A blanket of white covered the city. Christmas carols echoed from nearby houses. But inside Quilter House, the air was thick with despair. The festive cheer of the outside world couldn't penetrate these walls. It was just another day of struggle and addiction. The residents moved slowly, like ghosts. Their faces were pale, their eyes bloodshot. The stench of stale cigarettes and cheap booze hung heavy in the air. Christmas dinner was a sad affair. Overcooked turkey and lumpy gravy. No one spoke much. A sense of hopelessness permeated everything. This was their reality. A stark contrast to the joy and laughter that filled the world outside. Quilter House, a place where hope came to die. Manny sat on the edge of his bed. He stared out the window at the falling snow. He had spent Christmas Eve at his mum's. A brief respite from the bleak reality of Quilter House. He longed to stay there, to feel the warmth of family. But he knew he couldn't. He had to go back. Back to the cold, impersonal walls of the hostel. Back to the endless cycle of despair and addiction. Back to the only life he knew. He thought about his mum's face, her sad smile as she hugged him goodbye. He knew she worried about him. He wished he could be different, but the pull of Quilter House was too strong. He picked up his bag and headed for the door, back to the darkness.
Tarquin paced his small room. His hands shook. He hadn't touched heroin in a week, a self-imposed detox. Christmas was always tough. It brought back memories. Painful memories he tried hard to forget. He could almost hear the whispers of the past, the voices of friends lost to addiction, the echo of his own screams. He gripped the edge of the sink, knuckles white. He had to stay strong. He couldn't give in. Not again. He looked at his reflection in the cracked mirror. Bloodshot eyes stared back. A ghost of a man, but beneath the pain, a flicker of determination. He would fight.
Sam sat in the corner of his girlfriend Hattie's parents' living room. He watched their family celebrate Christmas. Their laughter grated on his nerves. He forced a smile, but it felt hollow, empty, like him. He had promised Hattie he would stay clean for Christmas, but the craving was a gnawing beast. He excused himself and slipped out the back door. A cigarette wouldn't cut it. He needed a fix. He found a dealer a few streets away. The familiar rush of heroin coursed through his veins. Relief washed over him, but it was fleeting. Shame and guilt followed close behind. He would apologize to Hattie later. He always did. But deep down he knew nothing would change. He was trapped.
Paul and Selma huddled together for warmth.
Their room was freezing.
The single bare bulb did little to push back the December chill.
Christmas was just another day in their struggle for survival.
They had met at Quilter House.
Drawn together by their shared addiction.
Heroin was their escape.
Their only solace.
They spent their days hustling for their next fix.
Christmas held no magic for them.
Just the harsh reality of their existence.
They clung to each other.
Two lost souls adrift in a sea of despair. Jimmy surveyed his domain. The common room of Quilter House. It was his kingdom. He was the self-proclaimed king of Quilter, but his reign was a lonely one. He had been at Quilter House the longest. He knew every crack in the walls, every stain on the carpet. He had seen countless residents come and go. He had witnessed their struggles, their triumphs, and their inevitable falls. Christmas Day was no different. The same faces, the same stories. He yearned for something more. But hope was a luxury he couldn't afford.
Padge cooked his heroin on a spoon. His hands shook. He needed a fix. He hadn't eaten in days. Christmas meant nothing to him. Survival was all that mattered. Fiona sat on the edge of the bed. She watched him, her eyes empty. She was a crack whore, her body, her currency. She had sold her soul to feed her addiction. Christmas was just another day in their grim existence. A day to score, a day to get high, a day to forget. Their laughter was a hollow sound, a defense mechanism against the pain. The day wore on at Quilter House. The residents retreated to their rooms, lost in their own private hells. The festive spirit of Christmas couldn't touch them. They were trapped in a cycle of despair. Addiction held them captive. It ruled their lives. Christmas was just another day in their struggle for survival. The cycle continued, unbroken, unending. The snow continued to fall outside, blanketing the city in white. But inside Quilter House, the darkness remained. Manny walked away from Quilter House. He didn't look back. He carried a small duffel bag and a goat. He had found the goat wandering the streets a few days earlier. He named her Polly. Polly was his companion, his reason to hope. He didn't know where he was going, but he knew one thing. He wasn't coming back. He walked towards the rising sun. A new day was dawning, and for the first time in a long time, Manny felt a glimmer of hope. He was free.